All right, I'm going to call the scheduled meeting of the Show Low Planning and Zoning Commission to order. Roll call shows that all the commissioners are present except for Commissioner John Adams. We're going to have an invocation by Commissioner Josh Adams, and then we're going to have Commissioner Hepner help assist us in the pledge. So if you'd all please rise.
Our Father in heaven, we're thankful for the opportunity we have to gather here today as community members and members of this commission. We ask that we might be able to do the things that would be pleasing unto thee, that might benefit this community and the members therein. And Father, as we meet, we ask that thou would watch over and protect those law enforcement personnel that currently serve in our area, and those first responders that may be watched over and protected. Please bless us that we can do the things that we pleasing unto thee, and we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. All right, we don't have anything under old business. Right now we do have something under new business, so we'll go to item A and turn it over to Mr. Gaskis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A conditional use permit or CUP application has been submitted by John Riddell to allow for a car wash on property at 4420 South White Mountain Road, that being APN 212-04133D and 135D. The applicant plans to build a 4,480 square foot drive-through car wash with a 5,146 square foot vacuum canopy. Project is planned to have all equipment housed within the building. The facility is vehicle-oriented with on-site queuing areas and directional signs. The hours of operation will be, and this is a correction from the staff report, the original staff report indicated 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. However, as indicated on the application, it's 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. So I want to make sure we get that clarification on the record. And that would be 7 days a week. The subject property is zoned C2 or general commercial. Car wash requires a CUP in the C2 zone. Site plan has been submitted to the city and has been attached for your review. Findings of fact are as follows. Current zoning of the surrounding properties include on all sides C2 or general commercial. Current land uses of the surrounding properties include to the north, the Park Pineway Shopping Plaza, to the south, vacant commercial, to the east, Mudslingers Drive-Through Coffee, and to the west, vacant commercial. Transmittal memos were sent to all affected agencies. No applicable comments were received. The property was posted and letters were sent to all property owners within 300 feet of the subject property. In the staff report, we indicate that no public comment has been received. Since the preparation of the staff report, I did receive a phone call from another business owner just with general questions related to the car wash and its operations. Staff recommendations: after reviewing the standards for review, the zoning ordinance, discussions with the applicant, and because the request is consistent with the City of Show Low General Plan, staff recommends that the Planning and Zoning Commission approve conditional use permit 60204-221 submitted by John Riddell to allow for a car wash on property at 4420 South White Mountain Road, that being APN 212-04133D and 135D, subject to the following conditions. Number one, all development shall comply with all applicable federal, state, and local requirements, including building permit, sign, fire code, and Arizona Department of Transportation or ADOT requirements. Number two, the applicant shall coordinate with the Public Works Department to ensure that adequate backflow protection and grease/sand separation be installed by the developer. Number three, landscaping meeting the requirements of City Code Section 15-1-60D7 shall be installed and maintained. The applicant shall coordinate with ADOT and city staff to landscape the White Mountain Road right of way. Parking and lighting requirements of Section 15-146 of City Code shall be met. All under canopy lighting shall be recessed. Number five, development shall occur in substantial conformance to the submitted site plan and building elevation. And six, ADOT permits shall be required. The developer of the subject property shall coordinate driveway locations with the adjacent property owner and with ADOT. With that, staff as well as the applicant are available for questions.
All right, thank you, Mr. Tregaskis. Does any member of the commission have questions or comments for staff?
Yes, I was wanting to find out, will there be ribbon curbing and curbing starting in there? Will we start to put curbs in that area?
Right, so along White Mountain Road, that's an ADOT highway, so
Okay.
we don't really dictate there. As
Okay.
far as internal parking areas, they are anticipating doing curbing and things with the parking lot and the car lineup queuing areas.
Any other questions or comments for staff? Right, do we have the applicant? Could the applicant please come forward and state your name for the record and also your address? Thank you. Do we have any questions for the applicant from the commission? I have one question. When do you anticipate, if you're approved for the conditional use permit, when are you anticipating breaking ground for this? Okay. I think that's all the questions we have for you at this time. We're going to go ahead and open it up for a public hearing. If anybody in the audience would like to come forward and address the commission on this matter, please come forward and state your name and your address for the record, please. Seeing nobody moving forward, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing and bring it back to the commission for discussion and or a motion. Vice Chairman Bishop.
I move to approve CUP 602-04-221 submitted by John Rodell to allow for a car wash on property at 4420 South White Mountain Road, that being APN 212-04-133D and 135D, subject to staff recommendation.
I have a motion and I have a second. You have that, Linda? Great. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Mr. Tregaskis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a conditional use permit. As with any conditional use permit, there is a 7-day appeal period. If no appeal is received by the city clerk within that 7 days, this conditional use permit will be considered effective.
Mr. Riddell, we appreciate you coming to our community and wish you the best of luck. So thank you. All right, we're going to go to item number 6B, a public hearing in consideration of a zone change to revert the zoning from R115 to C2 on APN 210-31-020K. Mr. Tregaskis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At its regular meeting of February 26, 2019, the Planning and Zoning Commission voted 6-1, Commissioner Hudson opposed, to recommend approval of the zone change request submitted by Bill Haltom of Creative Development, LLC. Mr. Haltom requested to rezone a portion of AP number 210-31-020K from C2 General Commercial to R115. Single-family residential, manufactured homes excluded, 15,000 square feet, to allow for the construction of a single-family residence. Two individuals addressed the commissioners during the public hearing at February 26, 2019 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting with concerns related to public notification, lot size, density, traffic, and the status of the uncompleted commercial cabin. At its regular meeting of March 5, 2019, the City Council approved the zone change request submitted by Bill Haltom of Creative Development, LLC, to rezone a portion of APN 210-31-020K from C2 General Commercial to R115 Single Family Residential, 15,000 square feet. As stipulated by the applicant, the exterior of the commercial building currently under construction on APN 210-31-020K was to be completed within 90 days from the effective date of the ordinance. This condition has not been met. Building permit number 17230 was issued on October 3rd, 2017 to allow for the construction of a single rental cabin. The applicant has proposed 18 two-story short-term rental cabins consisting of 2 units per building for a total of 36 units on the subject property. Unit sizes range from approximately 500 square feet for lower-level units to approximately 400 square feet for upper-level units. A kitchen was not indicated on the approved building plan. As part of the zone change request, the applicant indicated that the scale of the approved commercial project would be reduced by changing 2 of the proposed buildings from 2-story to 1-story and eliminating 3 of the proposed buildings to construct a single-family residential home on the southwest side of the property. These changes reduced the total number of buildings from 18 to 15 and the total number of units from 36 to 28. The minimum lot size in the R115 zone is 15,000 square feet. The residential lot size proposed by the applicant is approximately 15,400 square feet. The adjacent property southwest of the subject property is zoned R115. Along Meadowview Place, lots range from a minimum size of 16,117 square feet to a maximum of 87,991 square feet. Letters were sent to all properties within 300 feet of the subject property, as well as to the members of the public who spoke at the March 5th, 2019 council meeting, inviting them to a neighborhood meeting on Thursday, July 18th of 2019 to discuss the revision of this portion of the subject property from residential R115 back to commercial C2. 2 people attended the meeting with general questions regarding the process. Findings of fact, and I'm going to go through all of these. At its regular meeting of March 5th, 2019, the City Council approved a zone change request submitted by Bill Haltom of Creative Development LLC to rezone a portion of APN 210-31020K from C2 General Commercial to R115 Single Family Residential 15,000 square feet. As stipulated by the applicant, the exterior of the commercial building currently under construction on APN 210-31020K was to be completed within 90 days from the effective date of the ordinance. That condition has not been met. Letters were sent to all properties within 300 feet of the subject property, as well as the members of the public who spoke at the March 5th, 2019 council meeting, inviting them to the neighborhood meeting on Thursday, July 18th, 2019 to discuss the revision of this portion of the subject property from residential R115 back to commercial C2. The zoning of the surrounding properties includes to the north C2, to the south R115 and C2, to the east C2, to the west C2 and R115. The land uses of the surrounding properties include to the north single-family residential, to the south single-family residential, to the east Cholo Meadow, and to the west single-family residential. Should also add to the north east of the portion of the subject property, that is commercial property currently. So we have a piece of property that is, as of now, split zoned with a portion residential as requested back in February, and a portion being commercial as it was originally zoned. Letters were sent to all properties within 300 feet of the subject property, as well as to members of the public. As indicated previously, 2 people attended with general questions. Staff mailed letters and subject property maps to all property owners within 300 feet of the subject property, posted the property, and published a notice in the newspaper in accordance with state law. 1 phone call was received with questions related to the request. After reviewing the standards for review, findings of fact, previous conditions of approval, representations of the applicant, and statements made during the public hearing, the Commission may move to recommend that the City Council revert the zone change approved through Ordinance 2019-04. This reversion would have the effect of removing the R115 single-family residential manufactured homes excluded 15,000 square feet zoning from the subject property and revert this zoning to the previous C2 general commercial zoning district. Any future development of the subject property would be required to comply with the C2 zoning district requirements. or the commission may move to recommend that the city council keep the zone change approved through ordinance 2019-04 in effect. This would result in the R115 single-family residential manufactured homes excluded 15,000 square foot zoning remaining in place on the subject property. Any future development of the subject property would be required to comply with the R115 zoning district requirements and conditions 1 through 5 of ordinance 2019-04. Just a reminder to the commission as well as to members of the public, in this circumstance, the commission acts as a recommending body to the council. The condition that is in question was not put on by the commission. It was put on by the city council. Depending on what is recommended by the commission this evening, the council may go along with it 100%. They may modify the commission's decision, or they may overturn the commission decision and move forward in a different direction. So I want to remind the commission, members of the public, that whatever action is taken tonight is not final. That takes place with the city council. So with that, Mr. Chair, I will turn it over to you for questions.
All right, and I just want to, I guess, get the opinion from our legal counsel. Since the city is the applicant on this and not the property owner, we can move forward. It doesn't look like he's in the audience. Is that okay? All right. So it looks like we have before us the two options that the staff has put forth before us. At this time, since we don't have an applicant, I'm going to see if there's any questions from the commission for staff. Not at this time. Seems like we're in a rock and a hard spot, right, with this project, right? Okay, I think we have members of the public who have come to address the commission. So at this point, I'm going to open up a public hearing and invite you to come down. Please state your name and your address for the commission. And with that, I'll open it up.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Kim Furneaux, 1331 East Meadowview Place.
What would you like to tell the commission, Ms. Furneaux?
Oh, okay. We would like it to stay the way it is currently with the 1/3 acre for a house. It's an upsetting thing to our whole street, as you can imagine. And I must admit, we were ignorant when we bought there 20 years ago because there was a house on that property. So I guess that's our fault for not looking into it further. But we understand it's commercial and we have to go with the best we can. But when they, back in February or March, rezoned it, we were all in favor of that because the more residential on a residential street, the better. And I don't see where anybody's going to benefit from turning it back to commercial. If it's to kind of punish the builder in name, it really is punishing our neighborhood, I feel, more than anybody. We would much rather have another house there. A little bit more buffer. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Furneaux. Anybody else would like to come address the commission? All right. Seeing nobody come forward, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing and bring it back to the commission for discussion. I guess I'm reopening the public hearing for the.
Okay.
Sure, we got no problem with that. We're going to go ahead and reopen the public hearing to get comments from the neighbors. If you could please state your name and address, please.
Larry Abrams, 831 North 44th Cole. I'm representing the family a person that lives on Meadowview Lane.
Okay.
Valerie Crespo's an owner of the Dome House there.
Mm-hmm.
Her concern was a wall being a divider between her property, the Dome home, and this development. And I attended the last meeting here, and Justin informed me that there would have to be a 6-foot wall because of the commercial side of this, where most of it is going to be commercial.
Mm-hmm.
So how would that work if there is this residential stays as it is, the one family unit, 15,000 square feet, or whatever it is, 1,500, sorry. And would there, so that part would not have a wall at that point? Is there any clarification on that type of configuration, or? is
We
that-
we can answer your question once you're done with.
I am.
Okay, so I'll turn that over to Mr. Tregaskis, and he can answer the wall issue.
Sure. So, as you can see on the overhead in front of you, we've kind of got the entire property outline with the gray, with the portion of the subject property that was rezoned to R115, approximately located in blue. This isn't survey quality map that you've got in front of you here, but it gives a pretty good idea. Anytime you have commercial property that abuts a residential property, the owner of the commercial property at the time of development is required to put up a solid material wall between the commercial property and the residential property. In this case, if the residential zoning was to remain, you now have residential property abutting residential property, the property that Mr. Abrams is representing. There would be no requirement for the homeowner to put a wall between himself and the other residentially zoned property. We don't require one residential to put a wall between them and their neighbor who's also residential. If the property were to revert back to its original commercial designation, so this blue portion now becomes a commercial lot versus a residential lot as was previously requested. As a commercial abutting a residential, they would be required to put the wall up. So commercial to residential, walls required. Residential to residential, no wall is required.
Vice Chairman Bishop.
What about on the other side of the new residential?
So on the other side, again, you have commercial to residential. They would be required to put the wall there.
And including against the roadway, and that a little leg that sticks
Down
out?
on that, yeah, that eastern panhandle area.
Yeah.
Yeah, they would be required to put a wall there too. Anywhere you abut commercial to residential, a wall is required.
So there was mention of that being, is that area 15,400 square feet?
This blue area.
Yeah.
Again, this is just kind of a rough approximation. It's pretty close,
Okay.
but again, not surveyor quality.
Yeah.
Don't hold me to that on a PowerPoint presentation.
No, I was just in the notes, it was in the statement, it was saying that it was 15,400 versus 15,000.
Right, so the minimum lot size in the R115 zone is
Minimum.
15,000.
Okay, not maximum.
In this case, just because of the way the property, the length times the width, they ended up being about 15.4. So 400 feet above the minimum, which, meets the zoning requirement, so.
Any other questions for staff real quick? Mr. Abrams, did you have another comment?
I did.
Yeah, what's that?
So, even though it's the same owner, the wall would still have to be built between the commercial and residential?
That is
As you
correct.
said, correct?
That is correct. yeah.
And also, so would there be a wall everywhere other than that, on the perimeter of everything else other than that in back of the blue?
The only place that the wall would be required by zoning is where the commercial abuts the residential.
So that
So in-
straight line?
In this case, it would be the north property line of what is currently residential and that east property line right there by that panhandle that is also residential.
Okay, thank
Sure, come on back.
Back, say my name again?
No, you're fine.
Okay. I forgot something that some of the neighbors asked me to remind you guys of. If you've ever been on that street, it's a 12% grade as is. In the wintertime, it's a really scary little road. And then Bushman comes and they I don't even know how that road ever got passed, but you hope that these people stop as you're coming down to stop. And the more traffic on that, it's just even going to be more and more awful. And so the fewer number of those little rental things, the better. And so even traffic, I'd ask you to consider when you think of it's going to reduce the number of those little cabins. What'd you say, from 30 some to 28? That's every little bit would help.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Furno. All right. Anybody else in the audience would like to come forward and address the commission on this matter? If not, I'm going to officially close the public hearing at this point. I will bring it back to the commission for discussion or possible motion or more discussion with staff. Vice Chairman Bishop.
It's disappointing that the one building still hasn't been finished. It's still wrapped in Tyvek, but I think there was a lot of concern at the last meeting about the zone change, but I think overall we thought that it was better for the neighbors to have less commercial properties there. So I'm in support of keeping it the way we recommended it be zoned.
Thank you, Vice Chairman Bishop. Is there any other questions or comments?
I agree with the comments made. I think it was a better choice to make it more residential, and I thought that was a good choice. I sure wish that building would get done that's there, but I agree with Bishop.
Thank you, Commissioner Adams. Any other comments?
Not at this time.
All right, I will entertain a motion.
I move
Commissioner
to recommend that the city council keep the zone change approved through ordinance 2019-04 in effect. This would result in the R1-15 single-family residential manufactured homes excluded, 15,000 square feet. Zoning remaining in place on the subject property. Any further development of the subject property would be required to comply with the R1-15 zoning district requirements and conditions 1 through 5 of the ordinance 2019-04.
All right, I have a motion, and before I have a second, I want to clarify with staff. If we make this motion and it goes before the council, will that definitively deal with this project? There won't be any more issues that it might come back for a reversion or something like that. Like this, I think the commission's done dealing with this and like to kind of move forward. So is that possible when we make our motion and sending it to council?
I would love to say yes. Anytime somebody has a piece of property, they can apply for a zone change on the property.
Yeah.
That is limited to one time a year. So yeah, we dealt with this in March. We're dealing with it again now. Is it possible that the property owner could come back and they could reapply? It is possible. There may be a future property owner that could come back and say, look, this doesn't really match what I wanted to do. Here's a master plan for the project. Maybe I've already spoken with the neighbors and the project that I have proposed, they think is great. So there always is the option for the property owner to come back. In this case, hopefully we've dealt with this issue at least and satisfied that. So,
Mr. Gaskis, what was the triggering mechanism that brought it back for the commission this time?
So the commission had recommended conditions 1 through 5, which were just general conditions of approval. One of those conditions was that the livable square footage of the home needed to be at least 2,500 square feet livable, which was a pretty significant increase over the zoning requirement for that. When it went to council, the property owner was asked by the council, I believe he'd been asked by the commission as well, when he anticipated completing the outside of the building that is currently under construction. He indicated that that would take place within 90 days. The council asked him if he was willing to place that as a stipulation of approval. Because we were dealing with a permitted use, the construction of buildings in the C2 zone for hotel, motel, short-term rental is a permitted use. It was very difficult for us as a city to just come forward and say, you have to have that done by a specific time. However, because he was willing to stipulate to it, that condition was added by the council as a motion to approve. And so they added that the outside of that existing building be done within 90 days from the effective date of the ordinance. Unfortunately, I think everybody was hoping that that would take place as indicated. Fortunately, it didn't, and that's why we're here tonight, is because they did not meet that condition as stipulated.
That was an additional condition 6.
Condition 6 added by the council, not by the commission.
Okay. So with the motion put forth by Commissioner Barron's, that would remove that stipulation.
Correct.
I have a motion right now, and I am entertaining a second.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Okay. For the commission, as well as the members of the public who are in attendance this evening, and our viewing public at home, this has been scheduled for a public hearing with the city council next week at their regularly scheduled meeting, 7 o'clock here in this building.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Tragauskas. Moving on to item number 7, call to the public. Any citizen wishing to address the commission can do so. I will read the boilerplate if anybody wants to come up and address the commission at this point. All right. Come on up, sir. Any citizen desiring to speak on a matter that is within the jurisdiction of the Planning and Zoning Commission may do so at this time. Comments may be limited to 3 minutes per person and shall be addressed to the Planning and Zoning Commission as a whole and not to any individual member. Issues raised shall be limited to those within the jurisdiction of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Pursuant to the Arizona Open Meeting Law, the Planning and Zoning Commission cannot discuss or act on items presented at this time. At the conclusion of the call to the public, individual Planning and Zoning Commission members may respond to criticism made by those who have spoken, ask staff to review a matter, and ask that a matter be put on a future agenda. With that, sir, I'd ask you to state your full name and your address, please.
Curtis Furneaux, 1060 North 47th Drive in Show Low. I had attempted to come up on your first subject that was brought up, but I was a little bit late in reacting. It was just a simple little question. When commercial work, they used to require a performance bond in reference to the car wash. Is that something they still do when somebody builds a commercial project?
We cannot actually answer your questions right now. We can just listen to you, and then after you're done, we can direct staff.
Okay. That was my only concern, is when somebody starts doing something on the highway where it's visible, and this might relate to the second subject matter that you were just talking about, is a performance bond. So if something isn't done as it said it was going to be, well, then the bond would take over. So that was my only question.
Thank you, sir. Just ask Mr. Tragauskas to get with Mr. Furneaux after this and answer his question. With that, I'll close the call to the public. Approval of minutes. Planning and Zoning Commission regular minutes were sent out in your packet for June 25th, 2019. Do I have a motion?
I move to accept them.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second? Multiple seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Carries. All right, we'll go to item 9A, summary of current events. Start with Commissioner Josh Adams.
Nothing at this time.
All right, thank you.
Not a thing, thank you.
Nothing.
Be fire-wise, we're not getting the monsoon rains, and we sure need them, so pray for rain too.
Just take a minute to say, it's been pretty exciting to see a lot of things moving forward in town, a lot of things in the road, culverts moving along, and clearings, and of course the Circle K that's going pretty well. Also, if you're around this weekend, go check out the Battle of the Bands and Vans at Frontier Field. That is a phenomenal event last year and should be a great event.
I have nothing to share this time.
Great, thank you. And I don't have anything either. Mr. Tragauskas.
Yeah, just a couple things. First of all, school's back in session. So just a reminder to our parents and to people who are driving through the school zones and see school buses, please be careful. Secondly, the Battle of the Bands and Food Vans is already referenced. This looks like it's turning into a popular event. One thing for people who have attended events at the Frontier Field previously, we have heard concerns related to parking, and we have recently added parking area directly adjacent to the Frontier Field and the existing parking lot that is there. So if you were there last year and you felt that parking was a problem and thought that that might keep you from going back this year, give it a second chance, because there have been some parking improvements that were made. And if you didn't go last year, don't let that keep you, because by all counts, it is a pretty popular event. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Tregaskis. And with that, I will adjourn the meeting.